Hello, everyone. My name's Aretha Brown, and welcome to my Change the Date Invasion Day podcast special extravaganza. I'm joined by my friend Brigalow.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brigalow.
Who is just some lovely eye candy for the podcast. And yeah, I suppose let's just get straight into it. So before we start, I just want to do a quick acknowledgement. I acknowledge traditional owners, past, present and future, the Wurundjeri people whose lands we are shooting upon today. And I also want to acknowledge as well, which is a pretty big thing, is the ongoing genocide in Palestine. And considering, if we're talking about Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination and also land back, how important it is to acknowledge our fellow brothers and sisters in Palestine who are fighting current colonial and imperialistic occupation. So just acknowledging that's going on and informing, I suppose, a lot of what we're talking about today. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Free Palestine, everyone. So this podcast is actually in conjunction with the release of some brand new conversation cards that me and Brigalow have designed as a teacher's resource, which you can get online now at the moment.
Yep, we're really proud of them. There's about 75 questions all up, featuring Aretha's wonderful art on
some artwork, and yeah, some questions to kind of for allies to learn about, self-reflection and decolonizing. So that's what this is all about, celebrating. I suppose a quick bio is my name's Aretha Brown. I'm a proud Gumbaynggirr woman. I'm 23 years old. And I'm an artist and screenwriter based in Naarm. And yeah, I love painting. I've painted over 65 murals now in Australia and internationally. And I'm just so proud of my Aboriginal heritage and my Gumbaynggirr culture. And for me, sharing that, those stories and that culture all around the world is what I love to do. And it empowers and it's the motivation for everything I do. So that's a little bit about me. This is probably a good time to mention as well, I spoke to the deadly Tarneen Onus Browne, who's an amazing community organiser and activist and just love boat, to be honest. She came in a bit early to the studio. Hello, you mob. So I'm joined here today by the legendary Tarneen Onus Browne, who's an incredible filmmaker and activist and community organiser. And she's going to talk to me today about Invasion Day and the week and I suppose even like Post Referendum as well. Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're on 2 hours sleep?
I am on 2 hours sleep.
Big couple of weeks, leading up to the rally or just life?
Definitely the rally. I think that it's the lead up.
Yeah.
There's adrenaline and like you can hardly sleep, you can hardly eat.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I don't know. Adrenaline is my favourite drug.
For real. And I suppose leading up to the rallies, what are you actually kind of doing in terms of preparing and what does that look like?
Yeah, it's lots of meetings and like working with people and particularly the organising group and figuring out, I guess, what our demands are and what the route is and how to keep people safe at the rally.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Like talking with marshals and medics that are going to be there on the day. Also, like there's just a lot of work that goes into the lead up. So
yeah, of course.
Working with media, working, like doing the social media thing, and it's just I haven't organised an Invasion Day in a couple of years. Yeah. So the landscape's changed quite a lot in comparison.
And social media is just
completely.
I suppose that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I know that. You use Instagram, for example, as a way to kind of, do not all of your work, but some of it as a community organizer. How does it? What's it like using social media? As a young black fella right now. Is it hectic? I know for a fact that I get so many crazy fucking DMs from people being like the most racist shit. And I think in a way as well, since the referendum, people feel a lot more kind of vindicated as well in their kind of anger and feeling a lot more kind of self-righteous and their racism because of the results of the yes vote in my DMs alone. So I couldn't even imagine what you kind of get as well. Is it crazy or is it?
Yeah, I guess my Instagram is pretty it's nice.
Yeah.
But every time I tweet something, no joke, I get 150 comments of people saying we said no.
Yeah.
Other racist vitriol.
Yeah.
And I'm just I don't know.
We're pretty used to it. It's kind of just, unfortunately, it feels like you got to pick your battles. That's how I feel a little bit.
Same. I don't really read the comments.
It's not worth it.
I think I did a comparison I did a comparison, like read through comments in the lead up to the referendum versus posting stuff.
Yeah.
Palestine.
Yeah.
And the hate that, I get for Palestine is even more than what I get what I got through the referendum.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild to see just the political landscape as well change in Australia and around the world in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And just even over the previous years, like organising.
Yeah.
That like the social media apps have changed, and so now it's TikTok and Instagram and Facebook anymore, and so it's just
TikTok. Wow, I don't even have TikTok. I'm so out of the loop. Like, it makes sense though.
Yeah, I just go on there to like what is the latest like ADHD things, and cats and Free Palestine stuff at the moment. That's my favourite content, and then obviously there was like lesbian content that was like the top, but that's my top thing.
Yeah.
And
it's changed. It's definitely
really
changed.
It's changed the way we organised. There's definitely like more, I guess, like organising around Instagram but also with media.
Yeah, for sure.
Like letting people know about what's happening and doing interviews and.
Because that's like half the reason I suppose I even wanted to do this like podcast today was like you walked in before and you're like, it's nice to be interviewed by a black fella. And it's true, like it's something that I've never actually, don't think I've ever really had happen before, like especially around Invasion Day. It's still so kind of, the whole lens of Invasion Day still you have to go through either white media companies or white journalists, and they still put their like spin on it regardless. I remember this one year, I think it was a few years ago, like they interviewed me for something for Youth Parliament, and they were like, what do you think about Invasion Day? And I was like, it's a really complex issue because so many people, and especially the Aboriginal community, want different things. I would assume most people want it changed, but some people might want to keep it or abolish it or change it. And I remember the headline that, it was actually The Age, the headline that The Age ran with was Aretha Brown says not all Aboriginal people want to change the date. And I looked like some Nazi. I was like, what? Like, it was like the worst spin of it of all time. And all the people were like, I didn't know you wanted to keep the date. And I was like, I don't want to keep the date. They just like literally like zombie cut my quote. And I was like, man, I think this year I was like, I'm not having that happen. Like self-determination means that we also get to control not only our stories, but how our stories are told. Like that's a whole other thing. So yeah, I can understand why social media can actually be really like, it's such a democratic medium in that anyone can use it and
yeah, I think it is. But, and I don't know, I guess even, I just keep thinking, I guess I'm on this train of thought where so much has changed. And I guess like, social media has been used as this like in this democratic way. Yeah. But I guess seeing what's happened with the referendum, seeing what's happening with Palestine, and the way that, the right wing are dominating and, I guess the left is being silenced.
For sure.
And it's really scary that we are seeing this happen because it's not just happening on social media, it's happening
everywhere. Like
everywhere and in the media as well.
And I think something I've spoken a lot of my mob about is like literally since the referendum, I feel like people have gone completely silent on Indigenous issues. Like it's almost like it was this crazy kind of like everyone was talking about it, everyone had the signs, everyone was buying the merch, everyone was, I think actually doing, quite a lot in terms of like volunteering and stuff. But then since the referendum, it just feels like this silence, and that's the kind of what's leading into Invasion Day this year. It's this kind of, I don't know, I feel like not, like, and I don't know, it's kind of like, I feel like white allies have kind of switched it's gone from like like yes vote to like now Palestine, which is awesome, but it's like they can only pick one, and it's like, they have to understand, I guess, that all Indigenous issues and land occupation and sovereignty and everything's connected. Yeah. And it's not like, yes vote last week and Palestine this week, like it's all connected.
Literally, I remember I went to like a Palestine rally a few days out from the referendum. It was just like, of course, like both of these things happen at the same time and support them in different ways. And it's important that we show up for,
of course, yeah,
like the peoples whose land we're on, but also like our responsibility as being, in the West and being in Australia,
sure,
that has power over you know, like military arms, things like that. I think it's really important that we do that as in allyship with Palestinians. And it did feel like a switching of gears though a lot. Just like after the referendum, then that's when things just got really, really bad.
Yeah, I kind of feel that change as well. Like it's, In saying that though, like in terms of like the Invasion Day rally, I suppose another question I had for you was like, I in my mind, I feel like they're getting bigger every year. Do you agree? And if so, like, do you have a reason? Do you think why, or just?
I think it's because, you know, we show up on the streets, and I guess a lot of places are taking lead from the protests, and lots of, you know, workplaces are changing.
Yeah, that's true.
Dates, or like, you know, my workplace is like, oh, if you go to the rally, then like that means you can get a day off another day.
Yeah.
It's considered a part of
that's true.
work. And so when we see everyday Australians doing that, switching it up, and it does force the governments and corporates to look at
consider as well.
Yeah, to consider like if this is viable.
Yeah.
And so I think what we've done a really good job of is making Australia Day like something gross.
That's true. It is like, it is. You're right.
It's got the ick, you know.
Yeah, it does have the ick. Australia Day gives me the ick.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. Like even just seeing businesses being like closed for Invasion Day. Like I feel like that's something that's happened in my lifetime. You know, like, and that's a pretty radical change. You know, just like even little bakeries and cafes, or you know, up to bigger places. Woolies. What's all the controversy with the Australia Day merch? I think I've only seen that in the past. Have you seen that at all?
Yeah, they just released it at the start of the week that they wouldn't stock Australia Day merchandise.
Okay. Wow.
And
everyone's going crazy. The Daily Mail are getting like speed running that article.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I don't know.
It is funny.
I'm laughing so hard. All of these little babies having a cry.
Yeah.
Woolies doesn't sell like Australia Day merch.
Yeah.
But and I was like, this is so cooked. But on the weekend I went to Coles and they had these like singlets that said "Yeah, nah." It's like the referendum campaign.
Oh,
yeah, it
wow.
was like "Yeah, nah."
Yeah.
And Coles is selling it.
Ooh.
And I was just like, this is so bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't go to Coles often, which I'm so glad I don't.
Yeah.
But, you know, choosing Woolies too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Everyone go to Woolies now. This is not sponsored by Woolworths. We wish it was, but I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, great. And I suppose leaning into that as well, like any advice for allies, like, or not advice is the wrong word. I suppose like any practical tips. I always like to leave people, you know, walking away with a really practical thing they can do. Yeah. What's your like number, you know, top 3 or 1?
I think like, I mean, I've got a few.
Go crazy, please.
I think that what allies can do is find something that, you know, affects First Nations people, whether it might be like stopping black deaths in custody or climate justice or like what else, their healthcare, like whatever it might be, and support like grassroots organising around that and prioritise that in your work. And I think that's something really important about finding the thing that you
connect with.
Yeah, connect with.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. You
can contribute and support. And I think that's part of why, you know, over the last, I think, 7 years or 6 years, we, you know, put out the demands about what we want and the things that we want the Australian government to stop doing. And
just for everyone watching as well, like the demands for this year's rally, I suppose, like in do you want to just explain maybe what they are this year? Because they change, right? Or They
kind of change and then they're like the same, but just like stopping black deaths in custody, treaties. Also, what else is there? There's
go look them up. If just go look them up.
The poster.
Yeah. So the demands have changed. So just I think that's authentically connecting with you know, your own Indigenous activism, I guess, in a way that's authentic. That makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
Rather than just like randomly trying to fit in somewhere, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, like even, you know, if you have like a space or a, you know, podcast.
Yeah, literally.
Then, you know, like, because
I think I always tell allies as well, it's like you have to admit to your privilege in order to be able to help people. Like you can't, help people unless you acknowledge your privilege and therefore realize you have something to offer. And if that's technical support or spaces or funding or anything, you got to admit that you have it. And that's like half the battle is getting people to admit they're even privileged in the first place. Hey, so it's a good point. And I think, sorry, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, like with allies, I think just giving blackfellas a chance to like speak up and amplify our voices and our opinions and our perspectives. I think that's really important, particularly after the referendum. But there, like you said, there is been a bit of silence, but also like simultaneously there hasn't, where we've seen the right-wing media or the right-wing, you know, conservatives go after the treaty process in Queensland just days after the referendum. So I guess there's like, we need like more support. We need people to show up.
Yeah, for sure.
And be able to support the work that we do and people to amplify our voices in the media and other places, in art spaces, at concerts,
everything. Everything, of course.
I think that reading books and watching films and, you know, like listening to podcasts, like Bo Spearham has such a good podcast called Frontier War Stories.
Yeah, I know of it,
Yeah, and it's so deadly. And
so good. Just like diversity of your activism. You have to diversify it, you know? Like, you can't just be on one way or just learning all your information about Aboriginal culture on TikTok. Like you have to, it has to be a few different things, you know? And even like, you know, opinions that conflict themselves as well. Like it's got to have a lot of things forming you.
And there is like, there's so much like work and that we have to do as individuals, like even for you and I, like there's so much work we have to do as blackfellas and like the reading and the resources and like the learning and growing. It's like we're always doing that.
Yeah, of course.
But,
speaking of, this is such a random like side quest thing, but I remember because I saw Uncle Gary Foley like a while ago now, and we were actually talking about you because he was like, Tarneen's one of my favourite students, and I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like remembering your time kind of, because you're still at uni with Uncle, or that was a while ago now?
No, it was a while ago now.
Yeah, but just like taking your time, because Uncle Gary Foley, he's also Gumbaynggirr, so like I'm a, you know, big inspiration I suppose for both of us, but like is there any favourite memory from like learning under him or anything that he taught you that you're like, wow?
I think my favourite memory was, we had two assignments per subject. One was like an essay and one was like a question, like a quiz or whatever. And he's asked on the last question, who are the most good-looking Aboriginal people? And I wrote Gumbaynggirr, and I got it right.
Oh my God.
And so
I'm like blushing. That life really, really hot all of a sudden, to be honest. Amazing. He's so cheeky, that man.
He's cheeky.
So cheeky. My favourite ever Gary Foley quote, and I think about it constantly, is this like, the best thing that an activist can have is a sense of humour. Like, and I think he's never lost that. And he's got that real dry sense of humour where I think white people miss it. Like, even at rallies, he gets up and does speeches and you'll just say some little thing and you'll like think about it and you'll be like, hang on a minute, like that was a crazy thing to say. Like, that was so cheeky, and white people kind of don't even clock it.
Yeah. He's so funny, and
he's so funny.
I love him dearly. I really do. And even at the rally a couple of months ago, that was like the Palestinian Black Solidarity rally, just after the referendum, he was like, I didn't have to be what was it, like a seer or like someone who tells the future.
Oh,
what's the word?
Like a shaman or something?
No, like with the crystal ball.
What is that called? A fortune teller?
Yeah, something like that. But it wasn't that word. But he was like, I didn't have to look into my crystal ball.
Yeah.
I knew that the referendum was going to fail.
Yeah.
He was like on stage at the rally.
Yeah.
And I just lost it.
Thought
I was like, this guy is so funny.
He's really, I remember I saw the mother speech with him once, and he like, he was talking about if you're going to get arrested, make sure you're wearing a really good outfit, because if they get photos of you, you want to look really good. And I was like, that's an insane thing to say. But then I actually looked back at like, here's some of his photos from back in the day, and he's so stylish. Like he does, he really thinks about it all. And I suppose that activism though from back in the day, like he had to use, you know, newspapers was his social media back in the day in terms of how they had to like utilize activism, and he really knows how to. And I don't say this in like any kind of, you know, bad way, but like really knew how to grab a headline or grab attention, I suppose.
Oh, like absolutely.
In a way that like we don't really, like, social media is kind of more our way of doing that, I guess, now.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. This is obviously like I'm fangirling. But one of the stories that he told me about was one where a journalist came and like met up with him, a few other blackfellas at a pub, and him and the others were talking to this journalist about bombs.
Yeah.
And that they had bombs, and then it ended up, and this guy was like drinking with them all night. He shouted at them all night, this journalist, and they were just like joking, just to get free alcohol. Yeah. This journalist, but it was like on the front page the next day, of course.
He's like, so the bomb, like, where is it? He's like, what bomb? Like, are you, what are you, oh, right, all right, yes. Yes, we're building it at the back now in Fitzroy.
So, you know, like these.
He knows how to grab it. Like, it's insane. Like, he really, he's so good like that. Do you know if he's speaking this year? I hope so. He's always my highlight. He's always so good.
Absolutely. He kicks us off.
He's so good. And I suppose the final kind of question, any advice or support that you'd like for any mob listening as well? You know, I'm sure there's heaps of feelings that is bringing up this week for everyone. Any advice or kind of like just anything you'd like to say, I guess?
I think in this moment, I think just blackfellas just need to know that we're strong, we're proud, we're resilient, and we're hot as fuck. And this colony is trying to, you know,
ruin our moment.
I know, but they're not going to do it, and they have been trying for 250 years, whatever it is, and it's not going to take us down. And so I just love the amount of blackfellas, particularly these days, in comparison to nearly 10 years ago that we started doing this. I was telling someone before that it's like our 9th year organising Invasion Day.
Yeah.
And back then it was like pretty quiet still. We still had a few thousand people show up, but it was still
not like today where
it's nothing like today where there's Aboriginal young people and like their collectives all over the country, and you know, there's so many people talking about First Nations justice. Even the fact that we went to a referendum, even though it's not something that we exactly wanted, but it happened because of all of the work of like First Nations people around the country that continue to go out in the streets, that continue to fight in the workplaces. And I think it's just amazing to see that our like aspirations are out there in the world.
They're just bigger as well. Sky's the limit. I think just because of racism and the conditions that I suppose our, you know, families would have grown up in as well. Like we weren't really allowed to kind of have dreams like we have now. Like it sounds so sad to say it like that, but like we can't. And now everyone's dreams are so big, and it's so like nice and refreshing, and sky's the limit. I think is a really just nice like end off. Like sky's the fucking limit, whatever you want to do.
It really is, and it's about land back. And like we need to, in all of the work we do, we need to remember that like there is each step along the way is like another step to getting land back.
Yeah, of course.
It's so important that we all remember that. It might not be in our lifetimes, but it's you know, building those foundations.
Of course. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
And talking. Having me on. That was an excellent point past me had, because I'd made that in the past and it's now the future. The timeline's a bit warped, but the point is it was all I think it will be a good point if it is in the future again. Thanks. Brigalow is just an amazing person, proud Murawari follower, also comedian and style icon.
Yeah, I'm Brigalow. Currently doing my honours thesis, and I work as a policy officer at W.A.R, which is an Aboriginal organisation in the child and family welfare space. So
yeah, I was really keen to get you on as well because I know that you're really proud, like staunch Keep the Australia Day campaigner. And no,
yeah,
I'm kidding.
I think just like get a range of perspectives. So, you don't really hear black fellas.
Well, what do you want actually? Do you want to keep abolish or change Australia Day?
I'd like to talk about that, honestly.
Yeah, if only we had a podcast we could do it on.
We had a podcast.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think changing the date obviously is just the most straightforward thing to do, and I think.
But why do you want to change the date? Why is it important to you?
Well, I think it's important because if I put it like this.
But let me just say this:
if all like I won't take it towards the majority of like people. I just like pointing out like the racists and shit like that. A lot of them say like get over it, right? But why don't they just help us get over it and just change the date? That seems like the most effective utilitarian method. Keep everyone a bit happy. Like keep a date to celebrate Australia, of course, but don't make it the date that we got invaded.
It's a really interesting question as well, and I think a lot of people don't understand the complexity of the day, especially because there are Aboriginal people that want to keep the date, there are Aboriginal people that want to abolish the date, and there are people that want to change the date. And I'm very staunch to change the date. I want to be able to celebrate my own country as much as anyone else, and I think that's actually a really interesting conversation as well. It's talking about like patriotism and nationalism and how people kind of that want to keep Australia Day. They're like, we're true blue patriots. We love Australia, but my argument is kind of like no one loves this country more than mob. We've protected it and looked after it and nurtured it for hundreds of thousands of years since time immemorial, and we want to be able to celebrate just as much, but we can't do it on a day kind of wholeheartedly knowing it's a day that celebrates genocide and marks 250 plus years of oppression. Beginning of the end, yeah. And so, I really want to change the date. And I suppose it's another conversation to have with people is like, okay, so if we do change the date, what day is a really big question. I know a lot of people talk about even potentially making it the day that Indigenous people finally got the right to vote. Even like really the day that all the Australian states and territories became federated. So it's like officially became Australia. It could even be a better day. Honestly, I'll take anything at this point.
They won't do that because that was the 1st of January and we love our public holidays in Australia.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but... yeah, I reckon that's a great point about nationalism as well.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Australia was founded on giving fellas a fair go, and they just don't give anyone a fair go, really. So it's kind of...
give the fair people a fair go.
Yeah. For real, like, it's just like, It's a big thing, but I think collectively we'll actually bring people together. But I suppose... starting off our conversation, I really wanted to talk about the referendum because I thought it would be a disservice to not bring that up, considering everything that's happened in our world leading up to this invasion day this year. It's our first invasion day since the referendum, or the failed referendum also. What was the referendum like for you, Brigalow? What were you doing? What was it like? How did you find it? The referendum was kind of crazy. It didn't happen to me personally, but people at my work got attacked out the front of our workplace. That makes you really realize like racism just exists. The way I think about like that is kind of like the history of policy from protection into what we have now, which is self-determination. But ultimately none of those acts, including integration and assimilation in between, they've never actually been for Aboriginal people. And even self-determination now, that was like the defining moment, you know what I mean? Of giving us a chance to actually have some self-determination in Australia.
Yeah.
And it just didn't go through. And it kind of like, well, there you go. Like, I don't know.
We tried.
Yeah, we tried. But,
I think number one for me, the things about the referendum was it should have never happened in that it shouldn't have ever been a national decision. It should have just kind of been. Also, as a proud queer person as well, it reminded me very much. I felt like I was back in like 2017 with the same-sex marriage plebiscite, in that it was like, why are people voting on my human what is my human rights, I guess. Why people that aren't even involved in this community getting it to make this decision, I guess, about my life. And so it was the gay marriage plebiscite all over again for me. It should have never happened. It should have just been, it shouldn't have been decided upon by people that actually have no invested interest and also no understanding, I guess. That's how I felt. And I have noticed as well, it's something we spoke about earlier, that since the referendum, there's just been such a great silence, I think. Like, in terms of Aboriginal activism, I find it's like leading up to, the yes vote, it was huge. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone had posters. Everyone was going to, volunteering. And, like, that's incredible. I don't discredit any of that. But afterwards, it just feels like it's gone silent. And obviously, like, Israel-Palestine's going on at the moment. And that's a whole other, kettle of fish. But I feel like maybe allies are kind of made this decision, even if it's, like, not overtly being like, well, this is the next thing I have to do now. Like, but kind of discrediting all the work they did with Indigenous activism for the referendum, and then kind of going, oh, I have to worry about Palestine now, but thinking that it's like one or the other, and not kind of understanding that they're inextricably linked, because it's ultimately talking about Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination. Something else that really was a big thing for me, I guess, during the referendum was I did a big yes vote mural, and I think it kind of went viral on my Instagram because people had a lot of questions. Pretty much, I just did a big mural in Dili, East Timor, for the Australian embassy up there. So I was up there for a few weeks doing work up there. And let me tell you, it was literally one of the best mural experiences I ever had. The thing about East Timor is I think it literally is the one of the poorest countries in Southeast Asia. So these people up there have nothing, but in terms of the sense of community, it was insane. I had people come out, and all these women in the local community up in East Timor giving me food every day. And I reckon I had about 15 kids every day, run down and being like, please, can I help you paint on this mural? It was so cute. And I just felt this real solidarity with my brothers and sisters there in Timor, and all, the top end mob alike. And then I remember I flew back into Melbourne, literally within a day I was working on a new Yes Vote mural. I did a call out on my Instagram and I was like, oh, you know what? I've got the paint and I've got the time. I've got to do something for the referendum. So I put a call out on my Instagram, blah, 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 blah. Has anyone got a wall? And we ended up finding a wall in Carlton. And let me tell you, this painting site was one of the worst experiences I've ever had painting, and has really put me off painting for a really long time. You were around, we were, I was telling you all about it as it was happening, but pretty much, I did a big yes mural in the middle of Carlton for some mob who obviously their building. And I reckon every 1 in every 5 cars would drive past and just yell the most abusive shit I've ever heard at me, or the most racist shit. Just literally just slurs, insane. And I was so emotional. It was already such an emotional, triggering, just heavy week. And I really feel like everyone felt that, because it was the, Palestine, Israel, that week of October where it all kind of,
Yeah. October 7th. Yeah.
October 7th all kind of kicked off, and then also yes vote. And that week was just everyone felt that heaviness. But yeah, every 5 cars, I reckon someone went past and yelled something at me. And then someone called the police on me. I almost got graffiti charges. I almost got arrested. We laugh now because it's pretty funny. They got 2 divvy vans to come and arrest me. And I'm what, 5'3"? And I was like, what am I going to do? Fight all these cops? Just very justly amount of force they were going to anyway, but it was a whole thing. My point is, it was a very long form way of saying it. It was the first time I kind of really realized how racist inner city Melbourne is. I've always felt like I'm in a bubble in Melbourne. I'm no, everyone votes yes. It's I live in Northcote, for crying out loud. I was I'm in a progressive bubble, but realizing that no, it was, that was hard to kind of.
That's the thing I'd pull out of that story, is that it was Carlton, and people always say, oh, the woke glurf lived in the inner city, blah blah blah, and it's I feel like it's a big echo chamber, depending on who you are, what your opinions are. So for us, we might think, oh yeah, it's pretty progressive and stuff, but then it's just a real big wake up call to say
it's literally as soon as you get past the reservoir, you're oh, actually, oh, you know what? We got it pretty good. I'm going to go back to my little bubble now. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing, is a lot of allies were I can't believe the referendum failed. And it's I can actually. Go past the reservoir, north, and you'll realize that,
literally,
most people probably, no,
Yeah, I feel a lot of maybe young fellas, progressive left or whoever really in Melbourne, you know, failed to recognise that places like Queensland exist. And
the Queensland for real.
It's horrible racism everywhere really that just exists still, but we don't really see it as often, you know. It takes something like the referendum for people to start showing their ugly faces, which is kind of...
I had a lot of mob who like live not in the city that I was like calling and stuff. Like I have a cousin who was like Aretha, like I want to just move back to Melbourne now because they were living in W.A. at the time. And I mean, she told me the story where like everyone in the street brought their bins out and had vote no on all their bins on the street. Just like makes me just want to move back to Melbourne. Like there's actually, for everything we say about the city, like there is some degree of kind of safety, I guess, in the community and in
definitely
in those kind of circles.
The referendum just definitely gave a voice to racism, and well, not in particular racism, but if you voted no, you didn't have to be racist, sure, but I do say it's kind of like a bit fucked up if you didn't have a very like progressive view on it, because you're just denying Aboriginal people the right to self-determine their own lives through an advisory body, which isn't even much, to be fair. It's not like we're asking us to become like...
We don't want a militia.
We're not going to take over Australia.
Our own military wing.
Destroy Woolies and Coles and give you all spears and shit. Like, that's not how it's going to work. Like, it's just...
It's like, can we please maybe have some people that give some advice? Please.
We like, instead of like, you taking the money and opening new prisons and could we govern that decision and then help our communities and
it's too much
the problems
just be quiet, Brigalow. It's too much to ask.
It's but I feel like the referendum definitely showed that side. And that's another thing. I don't think that door's been closed at all. Post referendum, like the racism is just stuck around. I
actually think it's gotten worse for me because like I get a lot of hate online on my social media and stuff, and I think for me it's gotten worse because people feel really vindicated in their racism, because it's like people would just like message me crazy stuff and then be like, well, look at the referendum, it was vote no, everyone wants vote no, you're the crazy one, and like trying to like weirdly gaslight me, like, oh, you want racism to end, well, like look at the no vote, like everyone thinks you're crazy kind of thing. And it's like like insane, look at these statistics, and now they've kind of got the maths and the figures and the statistics to back up their racism, that it's like full-fledged now. I feel like it's gotten kind of worse.
But that's also interesting because opinion polls like weeks before the referendum showed that everyone was going to vote yes, and then there was a massive push and it voted no. Like you have to look at like the intricacies of it, which like is like what people do in research papers or whatever. They're kind of boring for a podcast. But it's like, it's nuanced.
I also feel like it made me, I'm still just getting over it all, to be honest. I feel like I had shell shock from it all, and it has actually really I suppose like affected how I've been talking about Palestine, Israel as well. It's like, obviously I'm so staunch pro-Palestine, and I always have been, and I'll always be on the side of people that want to become independent from any kind of colonial rule, always and forever. But I feel like in the way that I've used social media recently is I've really like taken a back step because I just couldn't do it after the referendum. I've been so like, just feel like I had my spirit kicked, to be honest, and I'm kind of slowly through things like this kind of getting that back. But all Aboriginal people, it's such a blow. And then to now go into Invasion Day, which is now what we're speaking about, which is, obviously like our national day of, it's like our state funeral, for lack of a better word. That's really hard. Like we've gone from like what feels like a loss to like now another loss, and we're still fighting, we're still struggling, and we can't even grieve kind of.
I was low-key going to say the other day, like, oh, I wish it was like back like the few weeks before the referendum, because I was like hell excited. Like if this goes through, like that'll be mad. Like it'll show everyone kind of cares about us a bit and shit. Like, and then so like the public opinion actually has changed, and then it's like, nah. And then even like this week there's like every headline was like 60% of Australians want to keep Australia Day on the day, and then you look at who did the poll, and it's literally like this right wing. Like climate change denialist, like hates Aboriginal fucking like institute. And it's like, well,
hates Aboriginal Institute.
We're hearing
my
like
favorite institute.
Yeah, literally, it's just some right wing like conservative thing, and then all the news chains, like eat it up, spew it back to us, and then we kick ourselves even more. And it's like, well, it's just a cycle, innit?
And I think because it is so emotional for so many people, like Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal alike, Invasion Day, Australia Day, Survival Day, referendum, post referendum, it's all so emotional. And I think it does sell newspapers and it is buzzwordy and it does get a lot of attention because it's so emotional and it brings up so many different things for people. It's so deep-seated. If we're talking about Australian identity, that's such a like, it's like almost like emotional sunburn for people. You know, if you kind of press at it a little bit, people like, it feeds at everything that we kind of know about ourselves, you know. And I suppose, I talked about it before, how like, you know, patriotism and nationalism, it's all tied up to Australian identity and values, and it's a really big conversation to have. It's huge.
Yeah, especially considering we're basically like a migrant society, like, you know.
Yeah, of course.
We have like people come here from everywhere, and it's like that should be celebrated, but if like Aboriginal people who've been here since the beginning, I celebrate that date. Like, we'd love to like crack a can. I like Bundy's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like a pool. I like a barbecue. Like, don't get me wrong, I can go do that, but
just not on that day. And I think on that day, that's something that I want to expand on as well. Is like you bring up this idea of like, you know, being refugees or migrants in our own country, and something for me, like this is a story that I kind of tell often when I speak at schools and stuff. But I remember I went to an Invasion Day rally a couple years ago. It would have been like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago now. And it was like, you know, I go every year and I was walking in it, and it was, you know, as it always kind of is, pretty intense kind of space, a lot of emotions. And that you know, it was an Invasion Day rally, full stop. And we were walking down, you know, Bourke Street heading into like Fed Square kind of thing. And there were a few people left over from because, you know, people don't know this, but in Melbourne, there's the Invasion Day rally, but in the morning, that morning before the rally, there's the Australia Day rally, which is exactly what it sounds like. There's like soldiers and it's a very patriotic and servicemen, and you know, it's the Australia Day rally, and then ours kind of coincides with it. It kind of happens afterwards. So there's always people kind of hanging around from the rally in the morning. Anyway, so we're walking down like Bourke Street, going to Federation Square, and like I said, there's people kind of left over from the Australia Day rally that morning, and everyone's got Australian flags. And I remember being in this crowd, you know, kind of walking past these people, being so upset, so angry, being like, oh, you know, fuck these people. Like, I'm going to like, I hate these guys. Like, they're the enemy. These people, like, like, oh, I'm so upset. You know, I'm so angry. And then like when I actually opened my eyes and like looked at who I was kind of being upset at, it was actually mostly like refugee and migrant families. And I had this like literally epiphany moment of being like, these people aren't the enemy. And unfortunately, I think what happens is like, you know, refugee and migrant mob come to Australia, and because of colonialism and because of white supremacy, they're kind of forced to kind of assimilate into Australian values and Australian culture. And so I think that kind of happens by being like, you know, you got to celebrate Australia Day. And no, maybe it's not even forced, but it's also like, you know, I've just moved to this country. How do I fit in is the other big question. Oh, well, I'll go to Australia Day rally in the city. I'll buy my little Australia Day flag. And like these people they're on my side, you know, other black and brown people, they're my brothers and sisters, they're my allies. These people aren't the enemy. It wasn't like I was going through the remnants of the Australia Day rally and it was like skinheads from St Kilda wearing like Nazi tags and like buzz cuts being like, yeah, like, you know, fuck, like we love Australia Day. Yeah. It was like tiny, like, you know, little like sweet children and like really sweet like Asian mob and African like mob and like just really, actually really diverse. And I was like, this mob aren't the problem here. It's actually... For me, I had to take a step back as an activist and kind of work out how to include everyone in these discussions of being like, listen, you're at this Australia Day rally, but you're also invited to our rally as well because we want to celebrate on that side of the banister with you just as much. But this is some of our histories. And because Australia is so whitewashed in how we teach Aboriginal history, when people come here, I think they don't even get to learn that. And so there's this really awkward disconnect, I suppose, between different communities, I think, where we're kind of butting heads, but it's all because of supremacy, white supremacy or colonialism or imperialism that we're all actually victims of, but we're somehow being pitted against each other. And that's something that I constantly try and think about.
It's all because the truth of our country just hasn't been accepted.
It hasn't been told at all.
And even like the Europe Commission come out to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And that has, you know, its own problems or whatever. But then that's a whole commission, and they're literally listening to people who've gotten taken away from their families at a young age. This isn't in the past. It happened, you know.
Yeah.
This is people's grandparents, you know, mums and dads, that kind of thing. But no one's accepted that as what's happened yet, because no one wants to. It's easy to say Australia is great than to actually look at our own personal genocide that happened.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think you'd be surprised as well. Like, I think once we actually start teaching Aboriginal history properly in our schools and our universities, that people will be on board. But I think the problem that we're having now is, like, as Aboriginal people, especially young Aboriginal people, we're going home to our nans and to our pops and to our grandmas and our elders and our aunties and uncles, and we're hearing stories about our people from the past. You know, your uncle was in this rally, or they were an activist for this, or they're doing this, and we know our truth, we know our stories, and then we're going into universities, into schools, and we're being actively denied those stories, and it's literally like we're being gaslit by the entire, like, education system, and then we feel crazy, you know. And not only are we trying to then convince these institutions to learn stories that we know to be true, people are mad at us for it as well. Like, it's bizarre. It feels like we're being gaslit by, like, the entire education system.
Yeah.
And
it's insane. Even just like if you just pinpoint some of the stories, like of like how fucked Australia was, and then you wonder why people come out and say fuck Australia, or I want to burn it to the ground. It's because, like, if you like
properly looked, you'd want to burn it.
if you heard like some of these stories from around the country and you weren't racist, like if you were racist, you'd be like, fuck yeah, like people did that.
Yeah.
Like, don't be proud of that shit. But if you were like say in Broome, they had a fence around the town up until like 67. It's in 1967. You had to rescind your right to Aboriginality to go inside of a town. That's 1967.
Yeah.
Like, bro, that's not, like, that's 2 years before we landed on the moon. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
it's also recent, and not only is it recent, it's ongoing as well. Like, we're still facing the impacts of the stuff that our parents and grandparents have gone through.
It's insane.
And I think another thing, like, talking about this kind of collective consciousness of us made to feel like we're literally crazy, is like, number one, we know our histories. We go to education systems, they're like, that didn't happen, or didn't happen like that, or it's not as violent as you're making it out to be. Or number two, I think another thing is when we're even talking about being Aboriginal and about blackness, BLAK, we're also denied in that way. Like, I was doing tours last year. I was in America and I was in Canada with Animal Sniffers, which is like, was a really awesome time. And I was doing murals and stuff. But again, I had this crazy, just like, I was just constantly kind of being, I suppose, told off, I guess, by like black crew over in the US, because they were like, oh, Aboriginal people aren't black. And it was like, well, we are. And I think it's because America is so, it's like so self-centered in that it thinks everything, it's like, it thinks America's the center of the universe. And so any kind of blackness that in any way, gets further and further from African-American blackness is therefore less valid and not even black at all. And so I think, not only are we like not allowed to believe our own histories that we know to be true, we also can't even feel self-determined in how we even literally just self-identify as well.
Yeah.
And so it gets hard when we have conversations around, black history, because everyone's like, well, you guys aren't black, or again, it's this thing of like constantly kind of lessering the violence, or lessering our identity, or lessering the impact. And it's crazy. And it's something like every day I'm like, it really like breaks you down. And so I think for allies to kind of understand that, activism, like, it doesn't start on Invasion Day and end that day. It's all year.
Yeah.
But because of like white media institutions, we only get the week of Invasion Day and maybe NAIDOC week.
Nah, not even NAIDOC week. You got to be at an Aboriginal organisation.
Yeah, true. Like, we literally only get, like, I reckon, not even the whole Invasion Day week, maybe just Invasion Day, where people will kind of listen to us.
The morning, and then everyone goes home.
And everyone goes home. They're like, damn, that's right. Like, maybe we shouldn't have black deaths in custody. That's a great idea. Anyway, like, got to go at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And it's kind of like, I feel like that point, it's really interesting, I guess, there's like questions to be asked about like, why does the rally get bigger every year? I mean, it just shows that there's like a societal shift and a conscious social consciousness.
I do feel like they're getting bigger.
But
I have
also,
noticed
like,
that. Sorry, you go.
If we're saying change the date, like, let's, you know, actually change it. Why don't we just do it?
Let's set a date to change the date.
Yeah, why don't we just fucking, like, we've been saying it for years, like, you know what I mean? And I feel like we're going to keep saying it. It's like, you know?
But I think my point is more that, like, you're right in saying that we should change the date, but the date itself, it's more than just, it's not really about changing the date. Like, this whole episode's about changing the date, but it's not really about changing the date because we're talking about everything, because we only get given this tiny day a year to talk about what's important. So we've got to fit everything in. Like, even talking to Tarneen before, who's like an absolute legend, who we'll cut to now. We'll do the random cut like that. She was just making some amazing points before as well, talking about like how, you know, the demands for Invasion Day, and they're so wide and varying and different. And it's because, like I said, we only get so much airtime, literally. It feels like I'm like trying to get even now, I feel like I'm trying to get everything out before kind of time's up, you know, because we only get such a small amount of time where people give a shit. And so, yeah, changing the date, it's actually not, I would argue it's not really even about changing it at all. Like, it's about changing it, but it's also about black deaths in custody. It's about land rights. It's about women's rights, about queer, it's about everything that encompasses being Aboriginal.
Yeah, but I feel like for a lot of allies who come, changing the date's the main thing that they listen to. So then they hear black deaths in custody, they hear this, and they'll watch it on the news 6 months when another black fella dies up north, and then they'll go back. The next year, change the date.
Yeah.
And nothing changes. It's crazy. Like, it's insane. But I mean, like, everyone's got to do their part, and we have to listen, and we have to, like, learn and try, I guess.
I think listen's the wrong word. I think as young Aboriginal people, we're like sick of listening. I'm sick of listening to people. I'm sick of listening to people. We got to talk. Like, that's the whole problem. I think we're the thing about Aboriginal people, like, it's a blessing and a curse. We are the most humble people of all time, and it's like it's the sweetest thing about us, but it's also our biggest setback. Is you could win an Oscar, and if you're Indigenous, you'd be like, oh, you know, like, oh, you know, won an Oscar. Like, we're so humble, and it's like to our own fault. And so even when we do excellent stuff, which we're constantly doing, I feel like we kind of still have a little bit of like, oh, but you know, we're a little bit shame job to still like
big noter, but
except for Brigalow, who's a big noter.
No.
Next question. Speaking of big noting yourself, Brigalow, social media.
Yep.
Talk me through it, honey. What are you on? What are you using? What's it like during Invasion Day?
Nothing. No social.
That's
I only got Facebook.
Just Snapchat for all the biddies.
Nah, no Snapchat either. Really, just chilling.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, just like, I feel like don't go on that shit. It's bad for you.
It is bad for you. I think, Tarneen was making excellent points about kind of social media. But yeah, I guess for me as like someone with a big following.
How about you? Yeah. I've got one here. Wow. Aretha, what do you feel about social media?
Well, thank you for asking, Brigalow.
Yeah, I thought you just asked.
I think as someone with a big following, like, the number one thing that shits me about social media as an Aboriginal person is I feel like there's this expectation that I have to be serious like 100% of the time, and it drives me insane. And my argument is that I think it's inherently racist, because it's like, if you expect Aboriginal people to constantly educate you in a way that's like, it's like painfully simple and painfully kind of accessible, then like, I think that's wrong. I think that you can't expect that. And I think my example is like, literally I could like post like a selfie, like, think like having a nice day today, and people will be like, I could almost feel people being like, just like, can you just give us an infographic? And I feel like if I don't wake up every day and post an infographic, I should just like shoot myself, because people expect that of me constantly. And every Aboriginal person I feel like can feel that in some way. It's like, unless we're constantly educating, then it's like we're useless. And I don't think white people have that pressure to like, they can just have fun on social media. It's like, oh, here's me having a milkshake. Here's me at a festival having a fun time. If I do that, it's like, oh, just give us what we need. And I think my point is like, your activism, it's cool to learn, you know, bits of it from social media. But if the only way you're experiencing Indigenous activism or kind of engaging with Aboriginal people is on social media, that's a problem.
Definitely,
You have to take bits from social media, follow, you know, you want to follow whatever, but then also read the books, watch the movies, do the courses, like meet who you got to meet. It's got to be a diversity of kind of ways of learning. It can't just be like, oh, shared an infographic today. And again, and that's my point. It's like, if you want to, support Aboriginal people, let us live, and also let us have fun, and let us just be happy people as well. Like, if you're going to follow Aboriginal people on social media, you got to let us have our lightness as well, in a way that white people, I think, get. We can't just be educating you 24/7 with the most infographic stuff. And if we don't post that constantly every day, then we're like useless. Like, that is inherently racist, So I think allowing us to kind of experience our lives in all facets, and experience all emotions and waves, just as you would grant any other person, is my take on social media. But yeah, switch it up. You can't just be on Instagram being like, oh, that Aboriginal person did that thing, that's cool. It's got to be a multitude of ways. And also, like, different ways that contradict each other as well. Like, maybe two people that are like, they actually disagree on something. That's interesting. That makes for actually better conversation. It can't all be one view on, like, Snapchat or something. It's offensive to kind of, like, expect us to also simplify it down to, like, a story, because we're talking about arguably some of the darkest moments of Australian history, things that are so complex to beyond comprehension for white people, but we're expected to, like, explain them in a story. And it's like, it's not enough words for me to even, I couldn't begin to do this in an Instagram story or in a reel. Like, it's offensive to expect that. And it is, like,
genocide lasted.
Yeah, genocide, like, Invasion Day, like, or it's like, I have like 60 words to be like, okay, this is how I feel about, like, black feminism. It's like, it's insane to think that. And I really feel like most other, like, minorities, like, kind of get granted that in some way. So I don't know, this is why, like, even doing this podcast today for me is so special, is because I feel like I get to explain myself, where you get my tone and you get my humor, and you understand us as people who are off social media. We're not just these, like, pop-up heads on Instagram, like, oh, here's an infographic.
Yeah, especially I feel like if you haven't really, like, hung around black followers, or like you might have, like, these really weird conceptions, like, oh, they're all spiritual, or like, you could be, like, bad, like, oh, they're all drunks, or like, you know what I mean? But
all serious.
Just like normal fucking people, like.
We've spoken about this before as well. I think you made me laugh heaps, because we talk about, like, there's this assumption as well that most of us are, like, staunch. Like, this word staunch.
Staunch.
This word staunch is, like, something that is, like, drilled in my head, because everyone's like, Aretha, you're such a staunch activist. Staunch. And it's like, what does that mean? Because I think, again, it's this assumption that not only do we have to constantly be educating, but we also have to be staunch.
Yeah.
I don't want to be staunch.
Tough. You have to be strong. They hate the angry black follower.
Yeah, you got to be angry.
But then you're like, no, that's staunch. That's who they are.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm actually very awkward. I'm a pretty awkward person, unless I'm kind of with my friends as well. I'm pretty shy, I'd argue. And you can't, it's this idea that all our people are these staunch, angry people, when we're not. Yeah. We're kind of, I would argue, quite, like, very lighthearted people. Yeah. Like, this lightheartedness and this humor that is an undercurrent of our whole community, because we've been through so much shit, that humor is a way that really, really, like...
Yeah. You definitely know how to joke around, but, like, I think a lot of the older elders and activists that came, they had to be angry, they had to be staunch, they had to put their foot down in the face of, like, police violence and literal racism in their streets that they it's, like, changing now, and it's good, but also it's like, we don't have to show that anger, and we can rally support through different ways now, which is, like, really interesting.
Anger as an emotion is, I think, a wonderful vehicle. Like, it's a really good vehicle for change, but it's not sustainable.
Definitely.
I had this thing where, because I was, this is such a random thing, but I was Indigenous Youth Prime Minister for a while. I was the first female as well.
Fit that in anywhere. You go. Jeez.
First female. Oh my goodness. I lost my train of thought. I got caught looking into your eyes. No, just kidding. First Indigenous Youth Prime Minister, and I think for a while I was like, there was this expectation that I had to be this angry person, and even going to rallies and constantly doing speeches. Anger, again, is like the thing that drives a lot of those things, but I'm not actually a very angry person, and it's at no discredit to anyone else that carries those feelings. Like, if you're an Aboriginal person living in a colony, however you express yourself or whatever feelings come up is valid and perfectly okay, but I'm just not an angry person, and I find it really hard to be that person. Like I said, I'm very awkward, and so it wasn't sustainable, and so I got to the point as an activist where I was like, I can't be that person anymore. what can I do? And that's when I eventually got into being a painter, because it was like, great, this is a really easy step for me, because now I can, you know, I can do this long term. And I suppose my next question was actually like, what advice have you got for mob right now? And I think mine is like, as Aboriginal people, we're born Aboriginal, you're, you know, going to go into the dreaming as an Aboriginal person as well at the end of your life. And because of that, it means that we're Aboriginal every single day. There's no, you know, no getting out of this. And so I think my point is like, when we talk about our activism, we have to think about it in a way that's sustainable. I want to be, you know, we're all going to be talking about the same things up until we're elders as well. And so you have to think about how you can tell your stories and your points and your perspectives sustainably and over time. And so I think for me, art was that way of like, I'm going to be a painter because I can paint and I never get bored and I never feel bad and I never feel this or that. And it's a really nice kind of, I suppose, outlet. And so my point is like, for mob is like, you got to have an outlet to express yourself and express it in as many different ways as possible. Because you're going to be telling a story for a long time over and over again to white people that don't understand. And so you have to do you right, and you got to make it sustainable for you and your mental health, not how white people want you to do it. Like, do it express yourself how you want to express yourself, because you're going to do it anyway. So make it fun. And do it, make your weird art. That's my other advice, is keep making really weird art, because that's what helps change the world.
Yeah.
Sounds corny, but it's true. Make art. What about you, Brigalow? What's your advice for mob listening that might be feeling any kind of way about Invasion Day?
Ooh, that's a big question, I feel like. But I don't know whether to say, like, stay strong, because, like, everyone just says that.
I literally got it into mind, stay strong.
We constantly hear that, after everything. It's just, like, stay strong, like, keep going, because, like, one day...
But I think we've spoken about this as well, this idea, again... And I think black women especially get this, but it's like, wow, you're such a strong black woman, you're such a strong Aboriginal person. But that strength is really romanticized. It's like, I don't want to be strong. Like, no one would be like, you're such a strong white woman. You're such a strong white person. Everyone would be like, that's a bizarre thing to say. That's really that's a bit weird. But for black and brown people, especially women, there's this romanticization of being strong. I mean, I don't want to be strong. I just want to be me. I just want to do exactly what I want to do. So... yeah, and saying stay strong, it's also okay if you're really struggling and if you're not having a good time. You don't have to be that strong person. There's strength in community as well, and strength in your relationships, but you don't have to be that strong person all the time. And I think that's actually a failing that we kind of...
Yeah, that's my second point, because I said I didn't really want to say stay strong. I'd like wanted to say like...
something else. Sorry, I like pegged you.
But no, I'm saying like have fun, because like... if you're struggling, I think is what I say to everyone, kind of like prioritize your happiness, because you need to get out of that like mindset or like struggling way. You know what I mean? So just enjoy it. Like it doesn't have to be all gung ho 24/7 on activism, correcting people and their bullshit, sticking up like against racism and stuff. It's like taxing as fuck. So just relax a bit, you know, have a go overseas, man. Honestly,
that's a good point. Actually, go overseas.
Go like Thailand or like Vietnam or something. Like just, you know,
I think
rent a scooter and just drive.
Drive into the sunset.
Yeah, it's good, and you'll forget about Australia's problems and like all the fucked up shit.
I think that's a really interesting point, because as someone that's been lucky to travel heaps now for my art and my work, going overseas as a black fellow is like, it feels like revolutionary or something. Because this is like, I feel like our generation, we're so lucky that we get to travel pretty easily and a lot cheaper than kind of mob before us. And so you got to get out of your town, get out of your mish, get out of your, you know, your town, your suburb, your city, and you got to see the world as well. Like, I think Australia beats us down so fucking hard. Like,
and you'll also go overseas and you'll meet people who will say like, I hate like what's happening in your country, and what's happening to your people. Yeah. And you'll be like, how did you even know that? Like,
because I was living in London for like 9 months, and that was really interesting being there. But I actually, despite it being like the lion's den of colonization, like in terms of like
Skull Island,
yeah. I kind of, it was like a fresh breath of air, I guess. Like, because when I flew back into Melbourne, I instantly felt like oh my God, like there is a heaviness about being Aboriginal in Australia, like undoubtedly.
Yeah.
When you go overseas, it could be anything. Like we both talk, like we get any other race when we're overseas.
Go to Mexico, everyone.
I get like Mexican or Italian or insert like ethnic culture, everything I get, but
Mediterranean tab.
But
be Indian.
It's kind of, I don't want to say like there's an invisibility cloak that you like get, but there is like a kind of, I feel like a less pressure or something when I'm overseas.
That's another thing as well. Person. Like if you think about like Aboriginal people, what's happened? Like technically we're kind of like refugees in our own country, but why aren't there like Aboriginal neighborhoods in like major cities across the world? Like we just remove ourselves from the situation, which is like that's like a future. Probably will happen, I guess, if Australia like keeps fucking up.
No, it's true. It's a good point because like when I was living in London, I was living in a place called Dalston Kingsland, which is this really interesting multicultural hub in the middle of like East London. And like there's a mad Caribbean community, which I've never been around in Australia. There's like a huge community here. I was on Caribbean mob, I was around all these different Angolian, and it was pretty much every single like country that England had ever colonized had a very set community in London, except for the Aboriginal community. Like I was there and I reckon I saw 2 other Aboriginal people the whole time I lived there for 9 months. And I'm really like love to see my mob and stuff. And even then they were just visiting through for a holiday and then kind of left again. We don't have that set up overseas, and it is an interesting question as to why. I think number one, it's not accessible in terms of our visas and passports. Like we don't get dual passports to England, which I honestly think we should, to be honest. 100%. If we're going to colonise us, we should get dual passports to visit. I want to go through the E-gates at the airport, honey. I'm not waiting in this other line. Number two, money. Like, we've always been broke because everyone's taken our money because of the stolen generation and what is ostensibly like a slave trade that we had in Australia with Aboriginal women, which my grandma was a part of actually. It's another story, but my grandma was stolen gen and she was made to work in a really wealthy house in Bondi. The guy, the head of the household was this guy who was a dentist and he was his family. My nan worked for this family for years and got paid virtually nothing. And there's so many stories like that because of,
stolen wages.
Stolen wages, exactly. And so
slavery in Australia. This is the truth that needs to be told and like actually dissected.
Exactly. And so, anyway, my nan worked at this house for years and kind of never got paid properly. And so we've always been broke because we've had to give our money away or work for free, which we're actually still doing today, to be honest. Yeah. And so, we haven't even been able to get that money to like go overseas and set up those communities, I guess. And also, I suppose those are my kind of 2 reasons I think we don't.
It's like we're being held hostage in it.
We want
this country back for us and we'll look after it. It's like, nah. It's like, can we change the date that you celebrate our invasion? Nah.
Yeah.
Can we get an advisory? Nah. It's like, fucking give us something, bro. Like, damn. We're just trying to have fun too. Like,
we're just trying to have fun.
So funny, right?
We're just trying to have fun too. Should be our slogan. Please change the date. We want to come to the party. We're really fun at parties. We promise, but we just can't come on that day because we're preoccupied with the national state funeral we have to go to every year in the Jan 26th. Also, the whole other point. But I think it is a really interesting point. But go overseas. Get overseas and realize with some perspective, I guess, how like
blackpacking.
Become a backpacker for real. It's really fun. But also connecting with other Indigenous people all around the world has been such an amazing thing I've gotten to do everywhere I've been. And how similar we are in so many different cultures as well. I did a big mural in India, New Delhi, a while ago. I got to meet with a lot of amazing Indian women who I employed on my site and just exchanging culturally. I was like, we're actually so similar and there's actually really nice, there's a lot of camaraderie and affinity I have with other cultures. Yeah. And why I love sharing it. And I think my last point about this, like the overseas stuff, is it's so nice going to other countries where they're former British colonies and believe it or not, they're still going pretty okay without a queen ruling it. Like, can you believe it that the world just keeps moving and that time doesn't actually stop when they stop becoming a colony? I know. Like I was in, where was I? I was in India, which is a former British colony, and it was so fun being there because Gandhi's everywhere and independence, and we're not English. We're Indian, like we're our own people. We got our own system of government. We got our own culture. Fuck those guys. It was like, this is the way to do it. And even being I was an island as well, doing stuff, and then being like, fuck the British, like they colonized us as well. We got our own language, we got Gaelic, we got our own sport, everything. We don't want any of that. And like I said, to see that other countries can do it and there is a way forward. And I think, again, as someone that's so staunchly changed the date, I've always thought that the best day to change the date to would actually be when we become a republic and not have any no more monarchy. Fuck King Charles. No one, does anyone here actually like King Charles? Like, apart from a couple of boomers, like, I think collectively Australia is ready to become a republic. We don't want a head of state anymore, some fella in England, you know, him and Camilla telling us what to do. Am I right? Like, I think it should be when we become a republic, we change the date to that date, and when we all become independent Australians. That would make sense to me as the most democratic and the most like forward thinking as well, that I think everyone would be happy with. So that's what I'd like to see. Yeah,
100%.
Kind of, I had our last questions now. Time's gone fast. Allies. One word. No, one word, allies. Discuss. 500 words, go. No, I suppose I always like to give people some practical advice. You know, we can talk all this very ephemeral kind of up in the air stuff. Do better. But what does that mean? What's some practical advice we can give people? Allies, what do you got?
The one thing I'd say is actually, I work in the ACO sector, and there's like...
Do you want to explain what ACO is, people that might
not know?
So
ACO is Aboriginal Community Controlled Organisation, which is essentially just the space that looks at Aboriginal affairs. And it's not just statewide, but it's national, and it's even to the community level. Like, you could move anywhere and work in this kind of space, but it needs workers. Like, a lot of the policy reform are looking at building workforces which are Aboriginal led, which is a bit easier to do than all Aboriginal workforces. So what I'm saying,
we need support in our organisations.
Yeah, we need a lot of support, and
a lot of these, are these volunteer based, most of these jobs, or are they wage?
You can actually go work there. Like, if you're looking for a career change and you work at like fucking BP head office, and you like, you
work at Adani.
You know, I'm putting oil in the sea. Like, just change your job.
Like, putting all this oil in the ocean. I need a career change.
It's like there's a lot of different things that actually make a difference, and like, it's it's like, I don't know, if you're looking for something cool.
And it's rewarding. Would you argue it's
very rewarding? Like, you know, definitely like look into it.
And there's jobs. There's always jobs in those places.
It's crazy. It's one of the like it's one, I don't know, but it's such
Do you want to name maybe a couple of the ones just for example?
So I work at VACA, which is Victorian Aboriginal Childcare Agency, looking at the child and welfare space. There's VALS, Aboriginal Legal Service.
The health service, VACO is...
Yep. VACO, yep.
VACO.
Health organisation.
Nacho, there's the...
Nacho, yeah, there's heaps. There's like...
Which is the National Aboriginal...
AI Education.
What's Nacho again? I always laugh because it sounds funny, but it's National Aboriginal...
Community Controlled Health
Organisation. They're really deadly as well. Yep. But these they need people to work with them, and they're really good jobs, and they're really rewarding. So that's a really good... I think it's really good.
Yeah, and I feel like... like there's just so much stuff you can do. And it's kind of like, I don't know, if you just hate your job, or like, you're not finding fulfillment. I feel like that's like kind of like...
I know a lot of white fellas, and they genuinely hate their job.
Yeah.
Like they would do better working for someone that like...
Like literally just like do something, make a change, and you'll get paid for it. Like, it's good job, good money. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would say. Like, you know, come give us all a hand. And
I think that's really awesome advice.
Yeah.
I got a couple here as well, and please jump in as well. So number one, I was going to say support a multitude of black businesses. I think the mistake that some white people do is like they'll support one Aboriginal business and like until the end of time, which is like awesome. But again, it's like the activism taking off social media. You've got to have a diversity of businesses you support. So yeah, there's a whole bunch, whether that's artists or, you know, clothing or apparel or books or, you know, anything. Go to a multitude of places, because we don't want to create a monopoly, because that's not great either in terms of, you know, our own economy and cultural economy and stuff. Number two is I really think reaching out to your First Nations friends or First Nations people in your life first and foremost before you do anything. It's very easy to talk about this stuff, but if there's Aboriginal people in your life, you should be supporting them first and foremost before you do anything for Invasion Day. I have so many stories of like, being in share houses where like I don't know, I've had housemates who've been like really problematic or really racist, but then would like go to Invasion Day rallies or like post infographics, and it's like, there's mob in this house that need your support before you go do like looking for other mob to help. I'm like, hello, like I'm here as well. So I think, again, and you can disagree with me, there might be some mob that are like, no, fuck that. But even if it's someone in your life that like you went to an Indigenous person that like maybe you were friends with in high school, or it's like a bit of a distant relationship, I still think I genuinely think it's really sweet and really enduring, even if it's a bit clumsy to kind of send a message that's like, hey, you know, it's Invasion Day week or it's a survival day. Just thinking of you, and I hope you're okay and you're surrounded by some nice people. Like, I think it's so nice. If anyone was grieving a death, and that's what we're doing, we're collectively grieving the death of our own ancestors in our community. And it's a national grieving day. And so how would you deal with any friend that's dealing with grief? Would you take them, I don't know, a meal? Would you call them up? Would you be like, listen, I know you're really like nervous, you know, calling people on the phone. Do you want me to book you a psych appointment? Like, I'm happy to make that call for you. I know administration is really annoying. What would you do for friend grieving, you know? But yeah, even if it is a friend, like I don't know, there's an Aboriginal kid in your class that you connected with like in year 10, I think it's actually really sweet. And I know it comes across a little clumsy and you're like, oh, I don't want to say it wrong. But just saying something like, hey, hope you're feeling okay. But the only problem with this is not to, and you've told me this, is to not then add any like, can you do this action for me?
Don't request them to do.
Don't request anything. Literally just be like, I hope you're feeling okay, or whatever. Let me know if there's anything I do to support. But then don't be like, oh, but also my workplace is looking for an artwork, or like my friend
do the fucking
acknowledgement at my like pub trivia night or some dumb shit. Like, just leave it at that. Like, keep it at thinking of you, not following it up, because we got enough shit on our plate. We're so busy this week, you know.
And like, I don't know, some black fellas might take the piss out of you for it, but it's like, we'll appreciate it, honestly.
Yeah, I do think so as well. Like, and even if you get made fun of, like, give us that. Give us a joke at least.
Fellas are funny.
Give us a laugh. Yeah. But I do think it's sweet. And so again, if you disagree, write in the comments, whatever. But I love it just because maybe I just like attention. I like lots of messages. I don't know. No. And yeah, I guess my other one for allies as well is keep making art. That's for everyone as well, especially young women. Keep making all the art. And if there's any weird art that you're like, oh, that's really weird and cringe, make it. It's my advice, because it could turn out really cool. My last question, Brigalow, last question of the day, everyone. Change the date. Where to from here? What are we going to do next? What's in right now?
2024
What's so in the Aboriginal community? Everyone that's anyone's voting for treaty. No, it's true though. Treaty's coming up. I think that is honestly probably the next thing that we'll all be fighting for.
I feel like it's time for action. Time to actually just. I was actually at a talk at uni the few weeks ago, and it was about moving away from. I don't know. This is all academic stuff, but kind of like talking about our problems in a way that is like self-determining, because self-determination means that we are still contending for our own right to express and assert ourselves, which should already be there. So it's kind of saying, this is why I said change the fucking date now. We just have to assert ourselves.
What are you doing tomorrow? Should we just change it?
Yeah.
Just do it.
Should we go on a
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we'll talk about that later. Right? Where to from here? Yeah, I think treaty coming up is the next thing that we're all going to collectively be learning and working towards. And I also think that, changing the date, expanding your activism outside of one day, for the love of God, please. And I think the last thing that I'll say is like this point that I've wanted to make for a while now is this idea of being activists as Aboriginal people. I think I've had a really hard time with the word activist because it's something that people often call me that I've never really self-identified with, I guess. And I've only just now started to feel comfortable with that word or that kind of prefix. And I guess it's because, when I first started doing youth parliament, I'd be like, I'm an activist. And I remember I got this comment one day from someone being like, you have to earn the title of an activist. You have to earn that. And honestly, I think that's a really elitist position to have, because in my opinion, I think every single Aboriginal person, from the day you are born to the day you die, you're an activist in this country. If you're Aboriginal and you're just surviving in this colony, that's active resistance. And I think you're an activist. And I don't think it's a good idea to make it an elitist title of like, oh, you have to earn being an activist, or you can't call yourself that. Because I think we are all that. And unfortunately, we have no choice in the matter. People always, the number one question I always get asked in interviews and stuff is like, you know, when did you decide to get into politics? Or when did you decide to kind of do all this crazy journey called life? And I was like, there's no choice. There's no, I didn't decide to be a woman. I didn't decide to be queer. I didn't decide to be Aboriginal. It's something that I just am. And there's no choice in the matter. Like, we're born political in this country, and no matter what we do it politically. And I think because of that, there's no choice in being an activist either. And again, it's about finding a way to be an activist, knowing we're going to be activists our whole lives in a way that's sustainable for us to do it long term. And that is fun for us as well. And so, yeah, I guess my question is like, this is the most long-winded question of all time. But yeah, how do you self-identify with the term activist? Is that something you kind of feel a connection with, or you like, I'm not an activist at all? Or well, how do you even define it? Do you think it is something that you have to earn, or is it something that you can like?
That's really interesting, because I felt like when I was growing up, I wouldn't identify myself as an activist at all.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, fuck, like, hell no.
That's how I felt as well, but I am an activist.
Back to that staunch angry thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that. Like, I'm chilling. And then I'd be like, when my mates would say something, I'd like pull them up for it, or like that.
That's being an activist.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. And then it's like, all right, like that's good enough, I guess. And then I don't know, but yeah, also just black fellas are just, their bodies are politicized, and you know, since the day I came out Kelly McIntosh 2 years ago. Shout out Mumsy, that's it. Been an activist since then, so it's like... It's
true, and I think it's really wrong of... It's actually mostly like male... It's no surprise, but like male elders in my community being like, you're not... Like young people, you have to earn the activist title.
You gotta get arrested or some shit.
Yeah, and I think that's bullshit. I think we're all activists, and I think it's actually really... Yeah, it's a disservice to everyone who has to fight every single day for stuff. And... Yeah, I get what you mean though about like not wanting to identify as an activist, because there's this idea that if you're an activist, you're angry and you're staunch, and you have to be the certain kind of Aboriginal person, which I think you don't have to be. And again, my activism, it's in my art, and again, I'm a bit more of an awkward person, and so I think you don't have to be that person, that angry person, or and if you are, that's also okay. But however you express yourself by living in this colony, and however you express. If it's anger, if it's humor, if it's lightness, if it's whatever, it's valid and it's okay. And you're not any less than or any more than anyone else. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. That's kind of the end of our talk. We had to squeeze a lot in there, which is very symbolic of the day itself. But thank you so much. We don't get paid for this, so we've kind of set up a system on my website where I have made you change the date merch. So if you want to buy a T-shirt, we can kind of pay back our team some money, so we're not working for free again. That would be amazing. So yeah, go to my website and buy merch. Also, yeah, check out our new conversation teachers resource / like playing cards that me and Brigalow have made. We're so proud of them.
You really like them. They're really good.
They're really fun. Well, actually, no, fun's the wrong word. They're important. They're not going to rival Uno. No one's going to be like, wow, who's the most racist out of our friends? I can't wait to play that. But it is important.
You can use them in team meetings.
Team meetings, acknowledgements, everything.
Acknowledgements, hanging out with the housemates, just...
Yeah, we've kind of designed them as, essentially what we're doing today, but for people to do on themselves.
Yeah, especially if you kind of
that doesn't sound weird. You can do it to yourself.
Yeah.
Alone.
Some self-fun. Or just
without us.
Explore
unless you want.
Mind and body and soul. Just by you and alone.
But yeah, I just want to thank all our partners today. Number one, Stupid Old Studios, who are like literally the biggest legends of all time, who helped us do all of this. Yeah. We look so professional. We were going to just shoot this in some rinky-dink share house in Brunswick somewhere with some lighting and some IKEA furniture. But this is very nice. I feel very glamorous here. This is good. So thank you guys so much. And also Florian Cafe and Wildlife Bakery, who have given us the deadliest feeds, which we're going to eat a little bit later. Thank you. You guys are legends. And also just the wider community for helping out. I think I did a call out on my Instagram a while ago, being like, oh, has anyone got any just things to help us do this? And so many people reached out being like, I've got a light bulb. I've got, a cushion. And I was like, you know what? Thank you. I will take the light bulb and that cushion gladly. But it was so sweet to see everyone come together. So thank you to everyone. yeah, you guys are legends, and thank you to Stupid Old Studios, who are just the coolest people ever. So, any final words, Brigalow?
Thank you, everyone.
And my final thing is, stay deadly. Cool. Great. I think we're done, everyone.
Oh, actually, I had one more.
Cool. I think we might be good.